Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining our webinar, DBT Core, fully managed, what's included and what's not included. Thank you for those that are watching us live. Thank you for those who are watching recorded. And thank you to our employees, our customers, our partners, our advisors, friends of the firm, and all of you. Thank you for your support and your feedback. For those of you that we haven't had a chance to work with, we look forward to working with you in the near future to earn your trust. This webinar today that you're currently watching is part of an overall webinar series. You can watch this webinar as standalone. You can choose to watch any one or more of the other webinars related to DBT. Feel free to check us out on social media for those recordings. Let's go ahead and get started. So you think of DBT. So DBT as a whole fits into the ELT ecosystem as the key transformation layer. It's an industry leader, but it complements your data ingestion platform, such as Data Lakehouse, your data platform, such as Snowflake, BigQuery, Redshift, Databricks, etc. And naturally, it tees up data to be presented in a visual format, such as Tableau, Power BI. And of course, also with operational analytics, including data science and other use cases where you have your different data layers relative to the audience and the tools that are consuming that data. Remember, DBT, and it's one of its key differentiators, is that it leverages push-down SQL. So any query that DBT creates pushes that SQL query down into its respective database, Snowflake, BigQuery, Redshift, Databricks, etc. It leverages the power of those underlying databases in order to perform that SQL. So DBT is not storing any of your data at any point in time. It's not even doing a pass-through of your data. The data stays within its source and is transformed in place for additional data models, tables, views, and other transformations that you're performing. So DBT comes in two main flavors. You have DBT Core, which is leveraging an open source tool. And you are responsible for installing, configuring, maintaining, troubleshooting DBT Core. DBT Cloud is a little bit different, where it's a SaaS-based platform, all in one, that has the ability to run one or more projects and to run one or more jobs. Those can be concurrent, those can be serial, those could be unrelated jobs. It's up to you. So it really comes down to what is your preference. And when we say the preference, if you look at just a quote unquote list price for DBT Core versus DBT Cloud, you'd say, oh, DBT Cloud is more expensive. That is an incorrect way to look at the way to differentiate between DBT Core and DBT Cloud. Because DBT Core, sure, there's no upfront subscription required. However, you do have to run DBT Core on a virtual machine. There's some installation and configuration. You have human capital time from your team in order to do that installation, configuration, and maintenance. And this is ongoing. It's not just a one-time set it and forget it, never touch it again. Naturally, DBT Core comes out with new versions. You need to upgrade that. You may have some issues on your virtual machine where things aren't running as you would expect. So there are troubleshooting. And you also need to be an organization that is very good and willing to get into command line interfaces. If that turns you off as an organization to say, nope, we don't want to go that route, well, then dbt Cloud is going to be a cheaper route for you to go in the long run. So it really comes down to what is your organizational preference and what is your organizational skills and their availability, aka time, in order to do that upfront configuration and then the ongoing maintenance, because they need to be the owner of that open source stack. So that's where the decision making is less straightforward as to what is the best approach for us to go. So instead of jumping and saying, well, dbt Core or dbt Cloud, those are only two options, there is a middle ground that gives you the best of both worlds. I'm Mike Jelland, been in the data and analytics space for several decades, really helping organizations create value through analytics. And that value is driven by building and driving to fulfill particular use cases that increase revenue in an organization, decrease costs or OpEx within an organization, and at times allows new and additional insight and capabilities into an organization. We at AICG, not just about the nut and bolt turning within an individual tool or a set of tools. It really is using technology to address those business or organizational use cases. Do that by partnering with you to understand what are we driving towards, the why from a business organization perspective. How are we going to measure whether we've been effective or not according to those use cases? And so we do that by partnering with you. And that partnership is, yes, driving towards those use cases, but also to enable your team, to make sure that your team understands what we're doing, why we're doing, what are the decisions that are made along the way. At some point in time, it makes complete sense that our time with you is done on the individual project or initiative. And so therefore, you and the team need to make sure that you're able to not only keep the lights on, but keep moving forward by addressing new business use cases or organizational use cases, and making sure that those current use cases, that the technology is able to continue to support those use cases. Because that's really where you're getting that ROI from these different technology investments. So let's talk about fully managed. What is included, what's not included? When we think of a fully managed dbt Core, there's a server and there's a developer or individual developer environment. And so within the core server, you install this on a virtual machine, or you just need a virtual machine, and that can run in any of the public clouds. It could run on premise, your choice on that. And then there's a couple of light applications as part of that installation, and leveraging the Data Lakehouse dbt package. And we'll talk a bit about what do you get within that in a little bit here. But really, the Data Lakehouse dbt package is what gives you dbt Core and all its necessary components and capabilities in order to have multiple dbt projects, to be able to run multiple dbt jobs. And that'll allow you to separate a dev job, QA job, production job, jobs that run once a week, once a month, hourly. And for certain data sources, you may have one schedule. And for other data sources, you may have other schedules. So naturally, a very important piece. But Data Lakehouse.io dbt package is what gives you those capabilities. And naturally, the developer, they're going to be doing the development, quote unquote, on their local machine. That local machine could be a virtual machine running somewhere, or it could literally be their laptop. Again, your choice. As part of a security perspective, you need to make sure that things are grant listed, that whether it's the server or the developer IDE can connect to certain websites. And these are websites that are needed in order to get access to pieces of code, to just do a check-in and check-out from a Git perspective. This is a partial list, definitely depending upon whether you're a Databricks, Redshift, Snowflake, BigQuery, etc. as your target data source will determine which sort of add-on you will also need, along with how that grant list will change relative to each one of those target destinations. But very straightforward, very little for you to manage in this because Data Lakehouse.io DBT package has DBT core. It has that job scheduling tool. You don't need additional clusters. Allows you to do DevOps with Git, depending upon what flavor of Git you're leveraging. And of course, depending upon which target destination, Data Lakehouse.io server will let you connect. And so you are not managing any open source. And this works within an environment where whether you're standalone and just want to leverage DBT core onto itself, where you're not integrating into an enterprise scheduler, you're not integrating into an ETL ecosystem. But for those that are leveraging Control-M, the Data Lakehouse DBT server fits right into your existing infrastructure. And same with if you're an Informatica, DataStage, or other legacy ETL tool. The Data Lakehouse server fits right in to that ecosystem or enterprise as well. And so this is very important for those larger organizations that have made a significant investment into the ETL landscape over the last 10, 15 plus years. But at the same time, they know their future direction. They want to start leveraging an ELT approach, and they also want to leverage DBT core. And so with DBT core fully managed via datalakehouse.io, you get quite a few pros with that. You're not subscribing to DBT, but you're not managing DBT either. You're not setting up a Jenkins or Apache server or service. You're not using Kubernetes containers. You don't have internal resources to install, maintain, support. It gives you the benefit to have multiple DBT projects. So whether you look at an individual department, that department could be of a data science team compared to my analytics team. I may have a marketing team, an operations team, and an analytics team. You can leverage the power of multiple projects, but more importantly, leverage the shared objects across those multiple projects. So you could have one main master DBT project that's going to enforce standards. It's going to enforce tests that will happen at the conclusion of each job to make sure that your data integrity and data quality matches those rules, those business rules that you've entered in regards to what does it mean? How do we know we have data quality? And what happens when we don't have data quality? And you also have the ability to run those multiple DBT jobs, whether you're looking at a development database that you're landing data into compared to a production database. Of course, you want to have multiple jobs depending upon those environments, but then within those environments, you also want to make sure and give yourself the option to have jobs that are for data sources that get refreshed or updated multiple times throughout the day. Perhaps it's even streaming, that you're landing data into your target destination. You don't have any open source software. So again, if you're an organization that isn't interested or doesn't have the skill sets, or perhaps you just have a policy that says we're not doing open source software, but also gets you the ability so that those trade-offs to not have to manage open source gets you fully aligned by leveraging datalakehouse.io in a subscription manner, which aligns with how you're subscribing to Data Lakehouse, how you're subscribing to Databricks, to Snowflake, to BigQuery. And it's a nominal subscription because it's self-contained. Data Lakehouse.io manages these components, and you just subscribe. All of this allows you to spend more time and the right time in regards to addressing those business or organizational use cases and not spending time, even if it's one resource, their part-time job, in order to ensure the maintenance and configuration of your dbt server. So where you go from here, definitely understand your organization's open source policy. Some organizations say, we're good with open source as long as you follow A, B, and C security audit, getting permission up front. You have the skills to set up and maintain dbt core. And then looking at, well, which flavor of dbt core are you looking for or willing to consider? The fully managed version that we're talking today? Or are you looking for one that you manage all of the individual components related to dbt core? We'd love to be able to talk to you on any questions that you have on your configuration, how to get going with dbt core. Feel free to reach out to us on any of our social media or our website. We thank you for watching and attending this webinar today. If you have any questions, we look forward to you reaching out and we'll respond with you in very short order. So please check out the other dbt webinars if you're interested in learning more, or feel free to reach out to us directly, and we look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you.